Read everything you can. Remember it all, forget it all. Avoid philosophers, politicians, and professors of English literature. Prepare for poverty. Spend a lot of time alone. Spend a lot of time in noisy rabbles. Listen to criticism as much as praise. Remember, critics would rather be writing a poem. Don't spend more than 1 year in a writer's circle. Invest in a large waste paper basket. Place your desk away from the window. Imagine everything. Never retire. Remember, the writing is more important than the writer. Don't advertise toothpaste or anything else. Go out in the worst kinds of weather. Live at least once on a small island. Lose yourself in a large city. Be nosy. Weep for the stupidity of humanity. Laugh loudly at the same stupidity. From my poem, Advice to a Writer. Sort of realised I needed to be a writer when I was about the age of 20, 21 when I went to university. And I've sort of lived as a full-time journalist on various newspapers for 12 years. But after a while, I didn't want to be writing about other people. I wanted to be doing my own writing. You know, as a journalist, you're an observer and you're on the sidelines and you're writing about people. It's a great job, but I think a lot of people then get restless, think, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be doing it. And I was reviewing theatre and things like that, and I thought, I want to be writing plays, not reviewing them. So in the early 80s, I gave up full-time journalism and I carried on doing some part-time journalism, but my emphasis then was on my own work, and has been ever since. Although I do have to earn a few bob to keep the wolf from the door, as I say. But the most important thing is my own writing. This is my very first publication, a small pamphlet of poems called Waiting for History, and this was published in 1976 with about 100 copies, I think. And there's me on the back, looking very youthful. About 20 poems.
So they're from different stories?
All sorts of different, yeah, they're not, well, the poems are more than stories, so they're all kind of, I mean, it's the first time I've opened this for myself for 20 years. There we are, 1976, 40 years ago. Is that 40? I set it up in 1973, Iron Press, when I was living in Gateshead in a hut with the poet, the well-known poet Tom Pickard, who ran the Morden Tower Poetry Reading Centre, and he lived there with his wife, Connie. And I just thought one night I'd start a press. I thought, let's start a poetry press. Originally I was going to do it with Connie Pickard, but that eventually didn't work out, so I did it myself. But the first edition of Iron is a Gateshead address. And over the next 3 or 4 years, I was fairly nomadic around this area. So there's various different addresses on the early editions of Iron. And then in about 1975, it settled here. So all the editions come from here, from about late 1975. Up to when the magazine closed in 97. It ran for a long time, and 83 editions. And that was Iron magazine, but also sort of in about 1976, I started publishing books as well. Now they still go, I still do 4 or 5 books a year. Originally Iron was because this was a heavy industry area traditionally, iron, coal, steel, that kind of thing, shipbuilding. So we thought we wanted to have something that kind of resonated with that, so we used iron, which was meant as a metal. It then, when somebody designed a logo for us, they did an old flat iron. It's a small press, so it's not got a big labour force. It's just me, who's unpaid, and there's Kate, who works half a day a week officially paid, doing admin and occasionally design work. I mean, I think we can cut them outside what's it? It doesn't matter if they go over, but we just cut them out outside the border. You know what I mean? So iron press always sits on the border.
On the
Yeah, the iron. This always breaks there.
So you want an actual border around the image?
I think so. We always do that. Actually, we do always do that. And then this could fill, you know, come to the edge of the border.
Yeah. I do the little space there by having a white block behind the iron.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, normally we put it deeper. We normally have it somewhere around where press.
That's because I've just
it. So it looks like it's mostly floating, but it's normally breaks it. Yeah, and I know you have to put a white. As editor, my main thing is to select the books. A lot of people contact us, and I always ask them if it sounds. I tell them not to send a full manuscript because I just can't deal with that to start with. Send a sample, and if they send a sample and it seems interesting, I ask for a longer sample, or more poems or whatever. And then if it still seems interesting, I ask for more. And so it goes. So I would say 80% of the people who contact me fall at the first hurdle. If I say, okay, send me 5 poems, that will probably be the end of it for most of the people. I'll write them, say, I don't think we can do this. You know, then there might be another 30% will fall off at the next hurdle, which is, well, they're quite interesting, send me some more. Slowly, it will get whittled down. I mean, so I say we only do maybe 5 books a year. I have a laptop and I have an old style manual computer typewriter. So most of the writing is done on a laptop because it has to be done these days. But sometimes I just use that lovely manual typewriter because I love typewriters and they have this sense of mystery, and I love the sound, and I love the keys, and I love the act of the metal key going onto the paper. And although I have to use a laptop for virtually everything, the typewriter is wonderful to use and kind of evokes that one. And it's very solid, and I've had it about 30 odd years. It was the last of the generation, there was a generation of coloured metal typewriters after all the black ones. For years they were all black. And then before electric typewriters came in, there was a kind of short spell where manual typewriters were in coloured metal, and that is one of those. And then electric typewriters came in for a short time before actual laptops and computers and personal computers and everything like that. So that is one of, in a way, the last generation. But it still works, and it's impossible to lose a copy. If I type something on there, I've got it. I don't have to save it, I've got it. If I do it on my laptop, I have to save it, and then sometimes it'll disappear. I think our best-selling books are anthologies, collections of work by different writers. Single poetry books are very difficult to sell, especially if the poet isn't very well known. Most people don't know most poets anyway. I mean, or if I asked a man in the street, quote me a line of poetry, probably couldn't. So poetry books don't sell very well, which is fair enough. That's just the way of it. These are 3 haiku I wrote. I'm very interested in haiku, and we publish a lot of haiku. I think it's a refreshing form of poetry that a lot of people can understand who don't understand a lot of poetry. So here we go, 3 lines each. In the lonely valley, the wind reminds the drying shirt to wave. The wine accepts without argument the shape of the glass. The smoke cannot lie about the wind. In a way, we got interested through the British Haiku Society, whose founder contacted Iron Press and said, would we be interested in publishing haiku, and I thought, well, we might actually. So the first book we did was called The Haiku 100, and it was 100 haiku, and it sold in 7 editions, about 16,000 copies, which is not big by Harry Potter, but for small presses is almost unknown. And it sold over the years, I say 7 prints, and we've now reprinted it with a new cover and everything. But we're only a small publisher, so it's just a few hundred copies. Please be there. Hi Graham, how are you? We've got a little print job coming your way in a week or two. I think you gave us a quote for it a few weeks ago, called Putting the Boat to Bed, a little book of poems. Okay, what we'll do, I'll get back to you with the exact times, and we'll liaise and we'll come over to Bolden. Thanks very much, Graham. Walk down Station Road. On the way down Station Road, North Road, Button Street. Got it. Station Road, and then there's a printer's down here.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Not to worry. There we are. Field print.
Well, it does run, it runs slightly bigger than A3, and that's an A2 one.
Right. It's a bit different when we started out in press, you know. Remember that? Well, that looks good, that colour. That looks alright. This isn't the real one, unless it's just strapped.
Right. These two.
Last chance, Mortimer. And then it's printed. It looks fine.
So that's just
Oh, well, this is slightly darker, which is good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. This is this is bigger than A4, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is not an A size.
We'll just cut that
If you
to
trim it down, it's
319.
A4.
319 by 325.
A5. So most of the stuff we do is an A size. Usually A5. We did do a book with you, A7 once.
That's an A5.
Yeah, that's the A5. So that's what we do most of. We sell online through our website, We sell online through Amazon and through Inpress, who represent us to the trade. We don't sell an enormous amount online. People sometimes just come here and knock at the door for a book, or they can buy traditional methods here. They can order them through the post, or sometimes people ring up. There's various methods. It's very hard running a small press. You know, there's so many competing things going on. A small press, I think book sales overall have declined, and people have cut out a lot of, I would say, quality, for want of a better word, poetry and some of fiction, you know. It's been quite, people find it quite hard. We carry on publishing, but it's not easy. And I've seen many publishers come and go and have these ambitious growth plans, and then they've just fallen apart. I don't think that kind of structure suits small publishers. You know, I think they should find out what they like to do. I don't want to grow, actually. We're a small publisher. We've always been a small publisher. We started doing 4 or 5 books a year, maybe 20 odd years ago. We still do 4 or 5 books a year. And everyone thinks, well, you've got to grow. We get, you know, funders and Arts Council people come and see us. What are your development plans? When are you going to grow? When are you going to do 20 books a year? So I'm not going to do 20 books a year. I'm going to do 4 or 5 books a year. That's what I like doing. So it's always exciting when you get a new book. It's the nearest I get to giving birth. Or being the midwife, maybe. And I'm going to read one of these poems, and you can also look at the artwork and see what you think. This is one called House Clearance, and I think it's about the poet's parent. So, House Clearance. I was given the task of mapping your last dreams. I could reassemble the bookcase that was never screwed to the wall, carefully finish sticking the broderie anglaise. It's the dream itself that I have yet to locate. Without that, the map is useless. I have called in the experts to clear the house. That's the poem, and this is the illustration. So I think all these poems have a kind of, they do have a depth, but they're accessible on the surface as well. And you want to go back and read them again, possibly, and find other layers. I think all poetry should have some accessibility on the surface, otherwise, for me, it's failed. About 10, 15 years ago, I remember, I thought, I've run it long enough. I was fatigued at that time. I was kind of intellectually tired, and I just was going through a period, and I thought, I've done this a long time, you know. And I think I remember going to the Arts Council and talking to them, and they were very good, actually, and they encouraged me, you know. And they said, well, maybe this is just a spell you're going through, you know. And it was, I think, and recovered and picked up speed again and picked up energy again. And then sort of found 2 or 3 books that excited me, I wanted to do. And was still here. I still regularly think I'm going to give it up. I think Iron Press would just end with me. Whenever I give it up, I think that'll probably be it, you know. Who knows? I don't know that. But I mean, that's my instinct, you know. And it might be also, after me running it for all these years, it might be a bit daunting for someone to take it up anyway. It's just associated with me so much. This is my Iron Press logos. This is why I can never give up the editorship of Iron Press, because it's on me forever.